Hey, just a quick note to let you know that this video is a pre-recorded live event. If you'd like to join our upcoming events, such as demos and office hours, you can check out our schedule on our support page. Hope you find this video helpful and look forward to seeing you in our next event. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this video, and welcome to another ZooMonitor demo. In today's demo, I'm going to be talking about grouping behaviors when you generate your reports in ZooMonitor. So as many of you know, ZooMonitor is a very flexible tool for recording behavior data. And you are probably tempted, like me, when you create a lot of your ethograms or your list of behaviors, you put a lot of detail into them. You create a lot of behaviors. In the example I'm going to be showing later for our pygmy hippos, we have 31 behaviors that we have for our project that we monitor our pygmy hippos with. And that's actually pretty typical for a lot of our ethograms across our monitoring program at Lincoln Park Zoo. And that's great to record it in that level of detail. However, when you get to the analysis stage, a lot of times, many of us often find we're in a lumper kind of mode at that point where we're trying to group behaviors to make it a little bit easier to analyze. And so the features I'm going to be talking about today, those behavior groups, are really to help that phase of your analysis and to satisfy your inner lumper. So let's go ahead and jump into ZooMonitor and I can show you these new features in our reporting. Okay, here we are in our analytics section in ZooMonitor. I'm right here on the reports page. And so I'm going to be pulling up, as I mentioned, our Pygmy Hippo project. So let me go ahead and pull that up. And so for our Pygmy Hippos, what I first wanted to do is just generate the report with our data and not creating any behavior groupings at all. So you can just see what that kind of would look like natively. So let me go ahead. I'm just going to create a quick behavior budget here. So I'm going to select a channel, interval behavior, just do a % of time, and I'm having no grouping specified here. So we can go ahead and generate that report. And I did have it filtered here for Annie. I do love Annie, so that doesn't surprise me that I did that. And you can see all of the behaviors listed here. So quite a few behaviors to pull out. This is the full ethogram for our Pygmy Hippos that we monitor at Lincoln Park Zoo. And certainly this graph you could make sense of, and this could be helpful. Well, however, another graph where it can be really challenging to kind of track that is our target behavior graph. And so if you're not familiar with our target behavior graph, this is basically a line chart showing your behavior over time. And if you don't filter any of the behaviors, it's going to look something like this, which of course is just abstract art here, not really data that you can use to make actionable decisions for your animals. And so this is certainly a case where grouping behaviors would help, and also filtering behaviors. And so you can see as I scroll down the legend here for this figure that has all of the different behaviors here. So let me go back and now show the behavior grouping features here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do a behavior budget first, and we're going to go to interval behaviors, and I'm going to go to behavior grouping. And so currently we have one grouping set up for behavior categories, which I'll show in a second, but let me go ahead and go through a process of creating a new grouping. So I'm going to click create behavior grouping. And so just to make things simple for our demo today, I'm just going to make it solitary versus social. Just two categories that I'm looking at here to split our ethogram across. And so the way you enter these behavior groupings, so the grouping is the overall umbrella of what you're creating there, and each group, so solitary will be one behavior group, and then social will be another behavior group. And the way you create those is you type it there, and then you hit the enter key. And so you see when I hit enter, that's when it turned it into that tag, and that's when it created that behavior group. So now I'm going to do social and create that group. And so with those two groups created, then you hit save, and it will update those groups in this list of dropdowns in this table you see below. And so if you ever needed to change one of your behavior groups, remove it, or add a new group, you can always go back up here remove one of the groups or add a new group and hit save, and it will update into the drop downs down here. And so the way assigning the behaviors to these groups, the solitary and social, work is you can see we have a table of all of the behaviors in the ethogram. So those are our 31 behaviors. I really am wishing I picked a project with less behaviors at this point, but this is a good example scenario for us today. So standing, floating, I'm just going to go through each of these and pick which category. Is it solitary behavior or social behavior? And so you can see it's pretty easy to click these, to just use the drop down there and go through each of these. And now I'm up to a social behavior, so I'm going to put some social behaviors. Our ethogram here is a little bit mixed across both of those, so there is some intermixing between the solitary and social here. And so for the animal not visible, I'm going to leave that as show original behavior. So this is the default category you saw there that's listed for all the behaviors. And so basically this means it's not going to be in one of the groups there. It'll just show this behavior. Obviously not visible, and our two behaviors are animal not visible, we can't see the animal, and behavior obscured, you can see the animal but not sure what they're doing. Obviously they could be doing a social or solitary behavior, so it's not really fair to include them in either. The way you could have also done this is you could have had an other category up above, solitary, social, and other, and then group them into that third category as well. But for today, what I'm just going to do is leave them as show original there. So, okay. I think I did these right off of memory, but some of these may be a little mixed up between the categories. But you can see very easy to assign all of those. Once you're done, you do need to hit save here at the bottom. So go ahead and hit save, and you'll see it'll automatically fill in that behavior group here in ZooMonitor. And so the next step, I'm just going to go ahead and generate report using that new behavior group we created. And so you can see very quickly, we have our solitary, social, and then those two behaviors I did show original for Annie, our pygmy hippo. And so solitary was, you can hover over it 68% of the time, and then social behavior was very low. Our pygmy hippos are separated, and so it was only 2.5% of the time there. And then the other two not visible behaviors. If you wanted to just show solitary and social behaviors and not show these behaviors, there's two ways you could go about that. So we could go back up, and I will quickly edit this category, and I'll just show you what happens if we had put hide behavior. So you can also change it to hide behavior. And so I'll save that now, generate this report again, and you'll see it'll show these two behaviors, and it'll hide the it'll hide the animal not visible and then the behavior obscured here from the report. The one thing to note, obviously, since we're hiding behaviors, that our behavior budget here, our behaviors are not going to add up to 100%, right? Because obviously we had some amount of time was attributed to those behaviors you're hiding, and in this case at least. And so the solitary here is obviously still 68, and this is still 2.5% here. If you wanted to look at the percent of time visible, so remove those behaviors, but also adjust for the amount of time they spent not visible, you can also do that with the percent of visible time here. And I did a separate demo that you can certainly check out where I go into reporting metrics and I talk a lot more detail about how the percent of visible time is calculated as well. So that's another option too if you wanted to create that. So I'm going to go back up. Actually, I will leave. I'll leave those two behaviors hidden, and we'll go and just look at really quick target behavior report here. So I'm going to go into interval behaviors again, and you'll see the solitary versus social is here in the dropdown. And so when you create one of those new behavior groupings, it's obviously going to be available for all of your report types within that project, but it's also available to all of your admins. So if you create if you go through the process of creating, your specific behavior groupings for how you want to lump your behaviors together, another admin can sign into your account and use those same groupings. It's not admin specific there. And so we're going to go solitary versus social. And you can see this graph is a lot easier to interpret here now. So we just have the two categories, social and solitary, and we can see obviously most of the time spending a lot more time solitary. And if we wanted to look at just social behaviors, you can click this in the legend, and then it'll filter out the solitary behaviors, and now we can see just the social behaviors here as well, and vice versa. We could also have done that for the solitary behaviors, but this can be really helpful, certainly to see like when were the animals performing social behaviors, but you might not care about specifically what social behavior were they performing, but were they performing any social behavior? Or maybe your feeding behaviors, you want to know how much time are they feeding, but you're not that concerned about the specific which feeding behavior are they performing, but overall, what is their time budget towards feeding? And so that's really where these groupings can help. And so I wanted to quick also show the other one here. So for us at Lincoln Park Zoo, we have a standardized ethogram we use for all of our projects that we monitor. And all of our behaviors basically get pulled from this standardized ethogram. Most are generalized behaviors that we try to keep the same terms and definitions consistent across a lot of our behaviors. Some are species specific, but not most. And if you want to access that, you can certainly find that ethogram actually available on our support site. So in our resource library in the ZooMonitor support site, we have that published there. So you can certainly access that and review. But all of our behaviors that we use for our projects come under one of 7 categories. So we have these 7 overarching categories that all of the behaviors fall under here. And so I can just go ahead and edit this and just show. So our categories that we have at Lincoln Park Zoo that we use are inactive, locomotion, feeding, foraging, undesirable behaviors, other solitary behaviors, and that's obviously a bit of a kitchen sink category of multiple behaviors that are exploratory and solitary play and such like that. And then of course, social behaviors. We have other as a category. Of course, you always need to have your other. And then we have our not visible category, which is including our animal not visible and our behavior obscured behaviors there. And so let me go ahead and just quickly show a report here with our behavior categories as well. Okay, so you can see what this looks like. And previously this was an activity budget with 31 columns here, 31 categories here on the graph. It's a lot easier to obviously interpret this now with using these behavior groups. Now we have our 7 principal categories that we are looking at that all of our behaviors fall under, and you can certainly see those patterns and more broadly speaking there. So this is just really a quick demo to kind of show some of these features. If you have any questions about behavior groupings, of course, always feel free to reach out to us at ZooMonitor@lpzoo.org. Hope you found this video helpful and look forward to seeing you in our next demo. Take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to be notified when we release more videos. If you have any questions about ZooMonitor, you can always feel free to contact us at ZooMonitor@lpzoo.org. Thanks.